Welcome to the Landerbat Sports Betting Show. Monday Night Football, Week 8 here. Got the Commanders and Chiefs, two teams trending in opposite directions, and we know Jaden Daniels is going to be out here for Washington. So we're going to be taking a look at the matchups, the insight and the data that you need to take advantage of Monday night with your bets here. Going to have Nate on to take a look at what he likes in terms of player props as well. And obviously, we're taking a look at the Swishland model projections that are available on landerbets.com for those of you interested in checking those out each and every week. So if that all sounds good, give this video a like. Let's get right into it. Looking at the offense for the Commanders, things are going to look a lot different here, right? Now, they are 20th in passing yards, 12th in pass EPA, not terrible, but that's mostly with Jaden Daniels. And then obviously Mariota has been out there for a couple games as well. The rush yards and the rush EPA, I call out because I don't know that those will change too much. The identity of this team is that they need those design runs for the quarterback to help with everything else. And so I do think you're going to see some inefficiency from the run game, from the running back, but you're still going to see the attempts from the quarterback because Mariota will do it. He's just not Jaden Daniels. For the Chiefs here, they're good at limiting quarterback stuff, even though they get pressure on the quarterback and blitz a ton. They do limit quarterback rushing yards, so it's not a great matchup for that for Mariota. But the key here is that they're not going to give you much in the passing game, and I'm not sure that Mariota is really built for this game the way that he wants to be able to run and can't throw quite as well. He will have his weapons back with Debo and Terry McLaurin, but I'm still not feeling super confident about their ability to score on this Chiefs squad or move the ball very much, and especially on third down. When we look at the other side here, the Chiefs on offense, 7th in passing yards. We're going to talk about how much they've been passing here in a bit. 5th in pass EPA. So they've been passing a ton, and they are very successful doing it. They're 10th in rushing yards, which is interesting because their backfield has felt sort of like a complete wild card, especially if you have anybody in fantasy. You're probably pretty frustrated with guys like Hunt and Pacheco and not knowing which one is going to be the feature guy each week. Kareem Hunt seems like he's taken over, then Pacheco comes back and takes more. They're good at it, though. They're 7th in rush EPA. Despite some injuries on the offensive line, they've still been able to run the ball super well when they do run it. That said, they can score also really well. Over the course of the season now, 2nd in scoring rate, 3rd in points per drive. So they're taking their time. They have a lot of long drives, but they will get there and they will score on those drives, and especially because they get into field goal range very consistently. Washington defense over the last 4 weeks, after a couple nice games to start the season, has been bad. 2.69 points per drive allowed. That is 6th worst in the NFL over the last 4 weeks. And a defense that started out looking really, really successful, especially against the run game, has just looked awful against the pass game for the whole season. And that's going to be a problem against a team that is airing it out a ton. So in the last 4 for the Chiefs, they are 1st in passing percentage in neutral situations. So when they're leading or losing by 7 or less, or tied, obviously, they are still passing the ball no matter what. And they've been winning a lot over the last 4 games that they've been doing this. And they've been successful too. Like I said, they're 1st in pass success percentage. So the majority of their passing plays are ending in what this is the stats here call success, right? Especially because they're getting close to first downs, taking into consideration which down it is. I just want to call one thing out. For the last 4 games, as we've been talking about the Chiefs being the best pass offense in the league, Mahomes looking like God, they've played teams that are very good at stopping the run. You've got the Raiders, who are actually 6th in defensive rush EPA. You've got the Jaguars, who we know. Even the Ravens, who have been bad all season, they're still the Ravens. You pass on the Ravens, you know that. And they got a lot of Ravens got hurt in that game, who would have been better at stopping the run there. And then also Detroit, who's in the top 10 in rush EPA. So there's a reason that this team has thrown a ton in the last 4. And just be careful, because just because they've done it here like so doesn't mean that Andy Reid's not willing to just make this ugly as hell and run the ball like 29 times in this game. We should call out Mahomes in terms of how efficient he's been, how successful he's been per pass. 71% completion percentage over these last 4 weeks. He's looked like the best quarterback in the league. There's not many quarterbacks you would trust with your offense the way that Andy Reid has trusted him to just pass pretty much on every play and not worry about the fact that the defense knows he's likely going to pass and he still gets what he wants in those situations. 8 yards per attempt. Not awesome by any means, but it shows you that he's like willing to take what the defense gives him. And I do think we're going to see a little bit of Xavier Worthy deep balls in this one. Nate is going to talk about that in his player props when he comes on. And then the touchdowns are what you look at. He's been a machine here. 11 touchdowns to 1 interception over the last 4 weeks. That's his rate when he's playing right now. And the key here too, he's running. He is a threat to run. And the defense is keeping that in mind. And it's because he's dropping back so much, but he's This is his career best in rushing right now, 35 yards per game that he's averaging. So that's a consideration as well. I think I prefer the rushing, but there's some stuff to be said for his deep ball as well. Nate's going to talk about the long completion stuff for Pat Mahomes. I still got to keep bringing up Novig with you guys. It is a sportsbook exchange, and it's the sportsbook exchange of the week here on landerbets.com. So if you do want to get a free month of access to these projections and all the bets that Nate and myself are putting down, a combined, I believe, 10 units up on the season right now through these 7 weeks as we head into week 8 right now. Go ahead and sign up, use code LYB, and then email us, support@landerbets.com. That is the email address to let us know you signed up using Novig, got all your bonus bets, and you'd like access to the site for all the premium channels for a month. Happy to get you in there if you just email us over at that channel right there. So what about Mariota rushing? It is in the high 20s, low 30s. I think you can get about 28.5 for about flat, right? Minus 115 or so. I would still take that. I think the rushing yards are going to be there because the designed runs are going to be there. This is going to look somewhat like a college offense at times, the way that there's some trickery. I think they're going to have to resort to that type of trickery using his legs and say Debo's legs, which we'll talk about in a minute. Those are the types of things that are going to help them keep this game close, potentially win it if they can steal it, if somehow their defense can play better than it has. Don't worry about the fact that they'll probably be trailing. I still think his runs are going to be a big part of this because even if he does step back to throw, this KC defense, we know how good it is against the pass, and they do blitz a ton, and that's why quarterbacks have had the 4th most rushing attempts against this KC defense. Hasn't led to a ton of yards, but it has led to enough attempts that you can feel good that he's at about 5.5 attempts right now, according to the market. I think he does get the 6 that he needs, and I do think the 30 yards or so is good for him in this one. So if you're expecting trickery, then you look at Debo Samuel, and I think the rush and receive is good for him. I think we see some weirdness at some point, right, with a quarterback to wide receiver to running back pass kind of play, or Debo just catching the ball behind the line and then rushing. Even if it's a screen pass, it's backwards in a way so that he has the option. But I think we see a lot of stuff here, and he's going to be the guy you go to when you've got a KC defense that doesn't give much up on the outside to wide receivers and really shuts things down with its safeties if you try to go too deep. That's where you'd expect them to try to target Terry McLaurin a bit more. Debo's the guy that I think might have a couple of fly routes from the slot or what have you, but a lot of this is going to be him playing around the line of scrimmage and then getting the ball and going. So he's at a pretty beatable number. It's 50 yards to go over for his rush and receive combined. And I like that just because of the situation they're going to be in this game without Jaden Daniels. Right now, I'm going under. I haven't bet this, but I lean strongly under to Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt's rushing. It's at about 55.5 yards. And look, we know we've got a negative game script incoming. I don't think the Chiefs are going to care enough to go up 27-0. I might be wrong there. I do think they're going to be leading. By how much, I don't know. I think it's going to be ugly, but I know they're going to try to stop the run, and I know that they're not scared of Mariota passing, and that's all bad for Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt's rushing stuff here. The Chiefs are really good at limiting running back attempts because they're usually winning, and because the team knows that they need to get first downs to keep the ball out of Pat Mahomes' hands. Well, Washington can't get first downs. That's going to be a huge problem for his rushing attempts because if he doesn't get a lot of success on first and second down rushing the ball, then by the time that they get to third, I'm not confident they're going to pick up a ton of those, right? The model only has him at 10.5 attempts with nobody really vulturing too many. They just don't think it's going to be in the cards for this team to be rushing that much. We know they're still probably going to run a bit more. So factor that in, that the 10.5 attempts is also based the model saying, well, they're going to lose, right? They're 11-point dogs according to the spread. So if we think they're going to be playing from behind, the model says then he's going to have fewer attempts. This is still a team that's going to give him attempts from behind. They're going to run in a negative script situation a good amount. Just they're going to be trailing a lot. So I don't think he's going to have a success on those runs, and I don't think he's going to be doing it enough to get 55 to 60 yards. All right, Nate's here with a couple player props of his own for this Chiefs and Commanders game. A couple of Chiefs players we're looking at. Going to start out with Xavier Worthy, down to 43.5 receiving yards. What do you make of the young man?
Yeah, seems pretty low, but I think, you can kind of capitalize on the buy low with Rashee Rice back, commanding a ton of attention underneath. Along with Kelsey, I think you're going to get the defense to bite on Mahomes, pumping underneath. You get the double move, you get the big play to Xavier Worthy. It's only a matter of time before he pops one. So I think in addition to just taking the yardage, you can look at this as sort of a big play market. His longest reception is 19.5, but you can get 3-1 on him to have a 30+ yard catch. Because I think, we're not just talking like a 20-yard dig route over the middle when it comes to Worthy, right? I mean, he can be gone. And this is pretty much the best matchup when you talk about yards per catch. Washington allowing a league high 13 yards per reception and the 5th most yak. And Worthy will line up most frequently opposite Marshawn Lattimore, former top cornerback for the Saints and others. Now just kind of getting burned a lot, including last week by George Pickens a few times, and that Washington secondary as a whole had a pretty crazy breakdown to give up an 80-yard catch to CeeDee Lamb. That's just kind of been their MO lately, is just giving up way too many explosives. And as we know, Mahomes can buy time, and he can find shots down the field.
Yeah. My only hesitancy with anything for KC is that I see them as playing with their food. Not that this is going to be like a close game and they need to like take care of it. Like, they're going to be on autopilot the whole time. They're going to take what they give them. And I do think the long reception for Xavier Worthy is the way to go. I like the way that you play that. If you're going to take 43.5 yards, I mean, yeah, I don't see them dinking and dunking with him very much. Now that they have Rashee Rice back, he moves into that fly route role for this squad on the X side there. And then you really just got Rashee and, like you said, Travis Kelce underneath for him, and he's good to go. And then Juju Smith-Schuster on some slot routes, 15 yards downfield, that kind of stuff. But yeah, Xavier Worthy's the deep man. Tyquan Thornton back to the edges of the bench there for him, unless they're on that 4 or 5 wide receiver set. So I do like the Xavier Worthy idea here. And that goes right hand in hand with Pat Mahomes, who has been the best quarterback in the league over the last 4 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, it's a correlation play here to say Mahomes' longest completion will be 39 plus. I'd say half unit, maybe pair it with the Worthy play in some way here, but there's, the Chiefs all year have been talking about regaining that explosive element to their offense, and I'd say they have, Bob. I'd say they are the best offense in the league through the last 3 weeks, and they just add Rashee Rice to form like Voltron now. And there's still room for positive regression despite all the success. Mahomes is only 8 for 28 on these 20-plus air yards throws. So if he's able to connect with Worthy, then you're talking about a double hit. Again, Washington struggling with the explosives. It's because they blitz at a top 10 rate and they're 10th lowest in hurry rate. Mahomes, even with a couple linemen, it looks like, out for the Chiefs, he'll just dodge around and buy time and get that ball down the field. On the road, this Washington defense allowing 9 yards per attempt and a 71% completion rate, completely different from at home. And yeah, I mean, your point about the Chiefs kind of playing with their food, they do get the Bills a week after this. So in that sense, like, I would say Andy Reid probably isn't going to use all his like gadget tricks and his goal line stuff, right? I mean, but we're talking simple stuff, right? When it's like a pump and go, when it's a double move, Mahomes just moving the defense with his eyes and getting a shot play that could go to anyone, not just Worthy. I'm not saying you have to pair these two together. I don't think that's anything they need to hide for the next week. I think it's just something they'll try to get at home here in prime time and then move on.
Yeah, and I can really see that with Buffalo coming in. You want to stay healthy. Dinking and dunking leads to more injuries than a couple of deep shots followed by a bunch of run plays, right? It's the dinking and dunking, a slant across the middle, somebody gets laid out, boom, you don't have Travis Kelce next week. You don't want that kind of nonsense. I think you do play safe in that sense because the Commanders are down bad and you are down up, right? Big time for whatever the opposite of down bad is. The only loss recently that hurts is that Jags loss, which they played with their food a little too much there, but I don't think we expect Marcus Mariota and even with McLaurin and Debo available in this game, you're just not worried about that with this Chiefs defense the way it is. I think Andy Reid lets his defense win, make sure he gets a couple points with the explosive plays. I like targeting that stuff a lot more than volume-based props such as yards alone for a passing prop or anything like that. I think we see all 3 running backs used a lot. Maybe you get some Rashad stuff in here as the third guy who might actually get a little bit more time if they are up big in the fourth quarter. But other than that, don't love anything that requires volume for the Chiefs. I think they're just going to just take 10, 11 play drives as often as they can to win this thing ugly like they like to do. So appreciate the time, Nate. He will be back here with his opening looks for the week, some early lines that you guys can take advantage of with him, including some early player prop looks. So until we see you next, Nate, happy betting. All right, y'all, appreciate the time for Monday Night Football. Going to be coming back with an NBA video for this week as well for Monday. And then throughout the week, NBA is live. So make sure you are checking that out. The website has everything you need for both NFL and NBA if you're interested in subscribing to one of those packages. So hope to see y'all in there. And until I do see you next, happy betting.